The ultimate upgrade, from zero to cosmic hero in a monster-filled world. Please like, share and subscribe. Episode 61. Ghost Fog Array. Roar. The ghost let out a piercing roar, and was directly annihilated by the burning breath and thunder contained in the long sword, and the black fog was burned out. Reminder. After the ghost disappeared, Gu Jin found a transparent black crystal on the ground. He squatted down to pick it up. It was cold to the touch, and there was a cold breath inside that kept trying to invade his body. But it was resisted by the blood energy that surged like a blazing flame. This is the spirit crystal left after the ghost was killed. Gu Jin suddenly felt that it was familiar. Without thinking much, he put away the spirit crystal. This is the proof of killing the ghost after going out. Spirit crystals are useless to most people, but they are needed in many places. For example, some psychedelic formations, if engraved on spirit crystals, will greatly enhance the effect of the formation. For example, the maze formation made by Gu Jin, engraved on spirit stones and engraved on spirit crystals, the price is very different. After killing a ghost, Gu Jin had a general understanding of his own strength. In this secret realm, he didn't have to worry too much about danger. Qingming was already able to resist the attacks of ghosts, and he had many means to restrain ghosts, such as golden flames and thunder. Generally, practitioners in the Chenggu realm were not as easy to deal with ghosts as him. Then Gu Jin walked back and crossed a bridge. The river below had dried up long ago. He had just chased the ghost and walked quite far unconsciously. Tada. Step slowly. Tada, 307. Gu Jin stopped in confusion. There was dead silence, only the sound of the wind like a ghost's howl. Keep moving forward. Java. Pair. It was not an illusion. Gu Jin's eyes were calm, and he had already calmed down in the state of mind of Qingming. Someone followed him, and the sound of his footsteps was consistent with his rhythm, and he was very close, just like. The person was closely behind him. The golden flame and thunder were ready to go. As long as they caught a glimmer of opportunity, they would attack like a storm. Brother. A clear and pleasant voice made Gu Jin pause, but he did not stop and continued to walk forward. Brother. The innocent voice shouted, with a little grievance, as if she was sad that Gu Jin ignored her. Brother. Wait for me, I can't keep up. The voice seemed to linger in Gu Jin's ears, and the aggrieved and tender voice of the child made people feel distressed. Step. Gu Jin stopped, but did not turn around. Pokakpak. Then a slight and hurried footsteps sounded behind him, as if a small figure was jumping and chasing after him happily. Suddenly, Gu Jin felt a little cold and uncomfortable on his heels. The coldness spread, climbed up his back, and instantly spread throughout his body. Joyful laughter rang in Gu Jin's ears, and suddenly, a beautiful arc appeared on the corner of Gu Jin's mouth, but his eyes were very calm, without the slightest smile. Boom. The scorching breath burst out and swept, the bright thunder was dazzling, tearing the void, the dark environment was suddenly illuminated by the silver thunder, and the air was distorted under the high temperature. Ah! A hoarse and harsh voice roared, as creepy as nails scratching on a blackboard, completely different from the cute and adorable child's voice just now. Under the dual attack of golden flames and thunder, Gu Jin's body was covered with black mist. The coldness on his back dissipated, and the discomfort on his heels also disappeared. Reminder. With a crisp sound, Gu Jin turned around and picked up a spiritual crystal, curling his lips. I hate old women pretending to be young the most. When he found something wrong, he kept observing and alert, and finally his mental power found the thing following him. It was an ugly woman with heavy makeup, but she pinched her throat and made a childish voice. It made people nauseous. Gu Jin missed some flaws, and the other party immediately stepped forward to step on his heels, trying to get on him, but was killed by Gu Jin in seconds. Looking at the gloomy sky, Gu Jin suddenly laughed. After 2 shots, he found that ghosts were indeed weird and could be seen if he was not careful. But for him, ghosts are easier to deal with than fierce beasts and monsters. With golden flames and thunder, he can kill here. Back to the building, Gu Jin continued to practice. Next, he planned to explore everywhere every day, bathe, in addition to practicing, to find spiritual medicine to improve mental power, which was his main purpose of entering the secret realm. Secondly, it was to kill ghosts. Since there were means to deal with ghosts, wouldn't it be a waste if we didn't collect spirit stones? Not to mention that the Academy counted spirit crystals to calculate rewards. The price of spirit crystals alone was not cheap, and some people even bought them at high prices. In the next few days, Gu Jin went out to explore and search for spiritual medicine and ghosts every day, except for cultivation. Ghosts were everywhere, and he killed many of them, but he didn't find any spiritual medicine, and he found that this ruined city was bigger than he imagined. He didn't even finish exploring it in a few days. At the same time, in the north of the city, he found a ghost covering the sky and the earth. The ghost fog blocked his sight and mental perception, and he could only see the unpredictable and weird scenes inside. Gu Jin sensed the breath of the formation on the ghost fog and found that it was actually a huge formation filled with ghost energy. This discovery surprised him. It must have something unusual inside to be protected by such a large formation. But unfortunately, with his current attainments in formation and his talent for formation at the level of a demon, he could only see the breath of the formation contained in the ghost fog, and he could not break it at all. After trying several times outside the ghost fog, just seeing a few wisps of easily dissipated ghost fog breath was enough to blind his eyes and see endless fantasies. As for mental power, it was completely suppressed in the body around the ghost fog and could not be released, let alone detected. Gu Jin was helpless but unwilling to give up. Until the early morning came and the upgrade times were restored, his eyes suddenly lit up. He thought of a possibility. In the past few days, he chose to upgrade the heart, and planned to upgrade a new part after breaking the second limit of the heart. The heart has been upgraded to Heart, Power +3, Burning +5. Tonight he can make the heart reach the extreme, and then break the limit through the second limit upgrade times. But now that he has discovered this ghost fog formation, Gu Jin wondered if he could resist the confusion of the formation if he upgraded his eyes, and enter the formation to explore the situation inside. He was very curious about what was hidden inside. It was actually protected by a formation that far exceeded the ability of practitioners in the Chengdu realm. There is no rush for this day. Looking at the heart that had reached the burning +5, Gu Jin calmed down and decided to break the second limit of the heart first. Because as the heart has been upgraded in the past few days, the golden flame of the heart has burned more violently, and the attack power against ghosts has become stronger. Letting the heart break the second limit can also add a layer of protection for him to explore the ghost fog formation. Episode 62. Improving mental strength. Heart upgrade. The surging energy was like fuel for the heart's golden flame, and the golden flame became brighter and more fierce, absorbing the external spiritual energy to refine it faster, and the ability to refine the spiritual energy and blood in the body was stronger. As the upgrade was over, Gu Jin felt that his heart had reached its limit. Heart upgrade. Without delay, Gu Jin directly upgraded his heart with the second limit upgrade times. The majestic energy roared, the shackles that bound the heart were broken, and the golden flame roared like a beast that broke free from the cage, burning fiercely, and the golden light was dazzling. Even across the body, you can see the golden light at Gu Jin's heart. Finally, when the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin saw the golden flame burning in his heart like a golden sun, reflecting the transparent scarlet heart with gold. The mind moved. Boom! The blazing golden flame directly penetrated the body and submerged a black boulder under his control. The stone melted into red lava in an instant like a fragile piece of paper in front of the golden flame. After taking back the golden flame and seeing the flowing lava, Gu Jin could not help but sigh at the powerful attack power of the golden flame. Before breaking the second limit, the golden flame could only burn and spread in the body, and the only thing that penetrated the body to attack was the burning breath of the golden flame, but even so. The burning breath also helped him increase a lot of attack power. When he was in the second stage of body refining, he relied on the burning breath to break the spiritual energy of the nourishing state. Use the burning breath to easily kill ghosts. Now that the heart has broken the second limit, not only is the golden flame more powerful, but it can also penetrate the body to attack, which brings a great increase in his attack power. Look at the current situation of the heart. Heart, Power +3, Burning +6, Burning Flame +1. Burning flames are a new feature that appears after the heart breaks the second limit. After removing the formations arranged around him, Gu Jin walked out of his habitat. He did not go back to the building where he first settled, but found a place next to the ghost formation. Although he was curious about what was inside the formation, Gu Jin did not waste time and explored around the formation. Gu Jin found that the ghosts around the formation were denser than other places, allowing him to collect spirit crystals while getting familiar with the ability of the golden flame. Boom! The golden light spread, passing through the void, submerging a ghost shadow, and instantly burning it, leaving a spirit crystal falling to the ground. Gu Jin put away the spirit crystal, but suddenly exclaimed, looking at a plant growing between stones. In the cracks of the stones, there grew a plant as transparent as crystal, with ink-colored aura flowing between the veins and trunks. Mustard God Root. Finally found it. Gu Jin showed a delighted look. After so many days in the secret realm, he finally found a mustard root. The mustard root is a spiritual medicine that can refresh the spirit, so it is naturally famous. He searched on the spiritual brain and found a lot of related introduction pictures, so he would not make a mistake. Carefully picked the mustard root, the whole crystal, with ink smudge inside, consistent with the description. After finding a mustard root, Gu Jin did not continue to hunt ghosts, but found a secret place, took out the maze city, the blazing red lotus and the tearing wind talisman and arranged them. Sitting cross-legged, took out the mustard root and swallowed it. The mustard root melted at the entrance, and penetrated into the brain like a cool breath. Under the nourishment of the breath, the mental power became extremely active, and the brain thought became faster. The mental power absorbed the breath and gradually became stronger. After the aura of the mustard god root was completely absorbed, Gu Jin's mental power spread and instantly covered a radius of 100 meters. This was the maximum range that his brain could reach after breaking the second limit. Now after absorbing the mustard god root, the mental power broke through the 100-meter range and continued to expand. 110 meters. 120 meters. When it reached 120 meters, it was the limit. Gu Jin retracted his mental power and opened his eyes. He was very satisfied with the growth of his mental power. One mustard god root could expand the perception range of 20 meters. It increased his mental power by 1/5. No wonder those students in the Chenggu realm were trying their best to enter the secret realm. It was really a great help. After absorbing a mustard god root, Gu Jin continued to search. I don't know if it was because of the existence of the formation that the ghost fog in this place was so thick. Gu Jin couldn't find a mustard god root anywhere he looked a few days ago, but there were quite a few here. In a few hours, Gu Jin found 10 mustard god roots. Then he began to absorb and refine. The mental power and perception range increased at a terrifying speed. 140 meters. 160 meters. 180 meters. Finally, when he took the 11th mustard god root, he found that his mental power did not continue to increase. Will it lose its effect after taking 10 roots? Although the mustard god root has lost its effect, Gu Jin has no regrets. 10 mustard god roots have tripled Gu Jin's mental power. The perception range has increased from the original 100 meters to the current 300 meters. Such a mental power growth will make even practitioners in the Chenggu realm happy. You know, not everyone has the opportunity to enter the secret realm, and not everyone who enters the secret realm can find 10 mustard god grasses. As before, Gu Jin searched for a few days and didn't find a single one until he found the group found a lot of this mysterious formation. He looked at the surrounding mustard grass and found that there were still more than a dozen plants, but Gu Jin did not pick them. It was useless for him to continue eating them now, and he could not take them out, so he did not waste them. He continued to hunt ghosts and practice. In the secret realm, the sky is always gloomy and gray, and it is impossible to feel the passage of time. Others will start counting with their spiritual brains after entering. As long as Gu Jin sees the number of upgrades restored, he knows that the dawn of the day has arrived. After the number of upgrades is restored, Gu Jin upgrades his eyes without hesitation. Upgrade eyes. The warm energy soaked his eyes, and Gu Jin felt that his eyes were undergoing magical changes under the transformation of energy. The process was very gentle. After the energy was completely absorbed by the eyes, the upgrade was completed. Gu Jin opened his eyes, and his eyes were as clear as the abyss, flowing with light, with a sense of fantasy that attracted people. He also found that the world in front of him became clearer. Originally, his 5 senses were improved after practicing. Now that his eyes have been upgraded, he found that the dust in the air has been clearly captured by the erratic trajectory. Look at the situation of the eyes after the upgrade. Eyes, insight +1. Insight, a feature that appeared after the upgrade. The biggest improvement to him is the ability of the eyes to capture dynamic vision, even the smallest things in the distance can be seen. Episode 63. The raid arrives. The upgrade has made a big difference to the eyes, but there is still a long way to go for Gu Jin to see through the ghost fog formation. However, he is not in a hurry. If he can't see through it, he will continue to upgrade. If breaking the limit for the first time doesn't work, he will break the limit for the second time. For the next 2 days, Gu Jin spent his time killing ghosts, practicing, and upgrading. In the dark and gloomy space, Gu Jin woke up from his practice, saw the number of upgrades that had been restored, and issued an order. Eyes, upgrade. He upgraded his eyes to eyes, insight +3 last night. Upgrading now can break the first limit of the eyes. Energy flows in his eyes, and Gu Jin feels as if a layer of dust that blinds his eyes has been wiped away. His vision is clear and transparent, and he can see deeper things. Opening his eyes, they are a pair of eyes that make people sink, and people can't pull away once they see the 500 line. Eyes, insight +3 exploration +1. When he saw the characteristics of the eyes after breaking the first limit, Gu Jin couldn't help but feel happy. It turned out to be insight, which is undoubtedly the ability he needs most urgently now. Exploration, this is to see through, understand, and see through. This is of great help to Gu Jin, who wants to see through the formation illusion and enter the formation. I couldn't help but come to the edge of the formation, and the ghosts covering the sky and the sun. The fog was endless, and the changing ghost fog seemed to lead to the abyss of hell, with waves of ghosts howling. Gu Jin's eyes were clear and penetrating. Before, he would have illusions in front of his eyes just by staring at the ghost fog, but now it had no effect on him at all. He tried to walk into the ghost fog step by step. The lingering ghost fog touched him, and illusions suddenly rose up, blinding his eyes, but Gu Jin saw through it, and his vision was finally able to be put into the ghost fog. But as he gradually entered the ghost fog, his vision was compressed. 10 meters. 9 meters. 8 meters. In the end, it was compressed as if he was blind, and his eyes could not even suppress the illusions. Seeing this, Gu Jin immediately withdrew from the ghost fog. When he withdrew from the ghost fog, his vision suddenly widened, and small things 10 kilometers away were captured, and the cover along the way was seen through. It seems that it is still not enough. Gu Jin sighed. Then, Gu Jin continued to hunt ghosts. With the ability to detect, the ghost's illusions lost their effect on him, and those who wanted to blind his eyes would be easily seen through. 4 days later, when Gu Jin was immersed in cultivation, a young man came to the ruins of the city with a compass. I really didn't expect that there would be such a city ruin in the secret realm. This is something I have never heard from other people who have talked about the secret realm. This is a thin young man with a gloomy face. Looking at the pointer on the compass, the young man smiled. It's almost there, as long as we kill this little mouse, we can investigate the city. No one has discovered it before, there must be some secrets hidden. The young man followed the guidance of the compass and quickly walked through the ruins. Soon, he saw the ghost fog that covered the sky from a distance, and was shocked. It's amazing. Speeding up his pace, he soon came to the edge of the ghost fog. The young man was amazed at the scene in front of him, but as he stared at the ghost, his mind was gradually absorbed, his eyes gradually became empty, and illusions were everywhere. Break! Suddenly, the trance-stricken young man shouted loudly, and his mental power burst out, finally breaking away from the illusion, and then quickly pulled away from the ghost fog. The young man glanced at the ghost fog with lingering fear, and then immediately looked away, fearing that he would fall into the illusion like just now. It's terrible, I fell into the illusion without knowing it. If I hadn't found 2 mustard god roots to improve my mental power, I'm afraid the consequences would be unpredictable. Collecting his thoughts, the young man moved forward according to the instructions of the compass, and soon came to a ruin, and saw the figure sitting cross-legged from a distance. Found it. The young man showed a cold smile. The figure sitting cross-legged in the ruins was Gu Jin. And this young man, named Xinhe, a genius with top-level cultivation talent, has a great reputation in the Chengdu realm. Before entering the secret realm, he was moved by the huge benefits paid by Lu Yu and agreed to help him kill a student in the Yangqi realm in the secret realm. Killing a student in the Yangqi realm was easy for him, and with the conditions that surprised him, Xinhe agreed without hesitation. Using the spiritual compass provided by the other party, which records the target's breath, he can find it. This compass was borrowed by Lu Yu from an elder in the family. It is a valuable top-level spiritual weapon, plus the ability to record breath and track targets. 0. It makes it more valuable than ordinary top-level spiritual tools. After putting the compass into the ring space, a spear appeared out of thin air in Xinhe's hand. This is a high-level spiritual tool. With his realm strength, unless he is a child from a top-level family. Otherwise, it is difficult to get a high-level spiritual tool in the Chengdu realm. This spear is of course not his, he borrowed it from his brother. His brother is a cultivator in the Fate Will realm with more outstanding talent than him. His amazing talent makes many people look up to him. And his brother has also been fully cultivated by the family. A cultivator with amazing talent, as long as he grows smoothly, can become a prince king. By then, their family you can enter the aristocratic family. There is a world of difference between a family and an aristocratic family. With a contemptuous look at Gu Jin, who was immersed in cultivation and had no idea that he was about to be killed, Shin He broke through the air and crossed 1,000 meters in an instant at an astonishing speed. The spear shone with luster, exuding an aura that penetrated everything. In fact, in his opinion, it only takes one finger to kill ordinary practitioners in the Qi cultivation realm, and he is not qualified to use high-level spiritual weapons. The reason for this is that it is just like a child who gets a new toy and can't wait to play with it all the time. Just when Shin He felt the powerful increase of the 0.2 level spiritual weapon, the spear was about to crush the opponent. Shin He realized that she had a wonderful breath, and then the ground glowed, and the flowing runes spread, forming a magnificent formation. Formation. Shin He was shocked. He didn't expect that there would be a formation around Gu Jin, and it was an intermediate formation. The maze formation unfolded in an instant, making Shin He fall into the environment. It's the maze formation. After Shin He recognized the formation, he breathed a sigh of relief. The maze formation is a rare enemy trapping formation among the intermediate formations. If he entered the secret realm, he might have to spend some effort to break it. But after the mustard god root improved his mental power, and he had a high-level spiritual weapon in hand, he was confident that he could easily break the formation. But what he didn't expect was that Gu Jin set up not one formation, but 3. Episode 64. See-through analysis. The aura of the maze formation was triggered, and the formation was immediately activated, thus triggering the blazing red lotus formation and the tearing wind formation, and they were activated together. Deep cold assault, broken. Shin He's aura was boiling and roaring, condensing on the spear. When he was about to burst out with all his strength to smash the maze formation, he was shocked by the shocking scene in front of him. As a result, his voice broke in the end. I saw the runes like burning fire spread out, forming a gorgeous and complicated formation, and then a huge and beautiful blazing red lotus bloomed, covering an area of dozens of meters. The red lotus looked extremely gorgeous, but its power was extremely terrifying. The high temperature roared and submerged the surroundings. The ground became charred under the blazing flames, and even showed signs of melting. Shin He was shocked, and the spear pierced out with a bang, and the sharp edge pierced through the void. The maze formation was shattered like glass under his attack, and the illusion disappeared. But after the illusion disappeared, the blazing red lotus became more real, and the terrifying temperature made his skin burn. The defensive spiritual weapon was activated, and the spiritual energy of the whole body protected himself, trying to escape. But the next scene made him look desperate. As the blazing red lotus was activated, the tearing wind formation 10 was also in operation, like a storm sweeping and raging, with countless wind blades cutting the air. When the tearing wind and the blazing red lotus met. Boom! Shin He had no time to escape, and was drowned by the fierce flames and countless wind blades mixed with flames. When the formation was triggered, Gu Jin noticed it and withdrew from the cultivation state, and then saw a red lotus of dozens of meters blooming in front of him. Then it became bigger under the wind, and the front was filled with flames. And the person who attacked him disappeared in the flames. After a while, the flames gradually converged, and Gu Jin saw a figure supporting his body with a spear on the charred ground. I saw that the defensive spiritual weapon on his body was damaged, his clothes were burned, and large areas of his body were charred. At this time, he was half kneeling on the ground, with a weak breath. Papala. Hearing the footsteps, Shin He, who was weak, raised his head with difficulty. His face was burned over a large area, and even one of his eyeballs was burned to charcoal. The only remaining eye looked at the shadow that appeared in front of him. Deve. Shin He opened his mouth, but his vocal cords had long been destroyed by the high temperature, and he couldn't speak at all. Seeing this, Gu Jin, who had wanted to ask who sent him, put away this idea. He actually had some guesses, but just wanted to confirm it. I didn't expect that a dignified Chenggu realm would be persuaded by Lu Yu and foolishly come to assassinate me. Gu Jin smiled lightly and said with a flash of lightning, "Didn't he tell you clearly about my strength? How could you step into my formation without any precautions?" Hearing his words, Shen He's remaining pupils shrank, revealing complex emotions, complaints, resentment, regret, and unwillingness. Seeing this, Gu Jin knew that it was indeed Lu Yu who sent him. What he said just now was just a test. Shen He seemed to want to say something else, but Gu Jin had no intention of paying attention to him. Puff. The long sword swept across his neck, cleanly and neatly taking the life of this man whose name he didn't even know. Bang. Shin He's body fell to the ground, and Gu Jin looked at the long spear still sticking on the ground, grabbed it and pulled it up. KY. The long spear hummed lightly, and the black ash on it disappeared, revealing a new look. Under the terrifying high temperature just now, there was no damage at all. The spiritual energy was input, and the tip of the spear shone with a sharp light. It's a spiritual weapon, and a high-level spiritual weapon. Gu Jin was surprised. He didn't expect that a practitioner in the Qinggu realm would actually have a high-level spiritual weapon. Then he immediately took off Shenhe's space ring and wiped his consciousness. After rebinding, he sensed the ring space. When he saw the things in the ring space, he couldn't help but feel his heart beating faster. Qian compass. Gu Jin was familiar with this compass. It was a top-level spiritual weapon for tracking. The price was higher than the top-level spiritual weapon long sword he saw at the beginning. Unexpectedly, this person not only had a high-level spiritual weapon spear, but also a top-level spiritual weapon Qian compass. In addition to this spiritual weapon, Gu Jin also found a level spiritual weapon dagger. In fact, what he didn't know was that this dagger was Shenhe's real weapon. The spear and compass were borrowed. In addition to the spiritual weapon, there was also a large amount of spiritual stones, roughly estimated to be no less than 200,000. What Gu Jin also didn't know was that this amount of spiritual stones was the reward for Lu Yu to ask Shenhe to take action. Therefore, Shenhe, who he regarded as a rich man, actually only had a medium-sized spiritual weapon dagger, some spiritual stones and cultivation resources. He put away the ring with a bright smile. For such a boy who brings wealth, Gu Jin doesn't mind fighting one by one. His eyes looked at the ghost fog formation, and he could easily penetrate the illusion of the fog and go hundreds of meters deep into the fog. It was much stronger than when his eyes broke the limit for the first time. Eyes, insight +3, breakthrough +5. Seeing the state of the eyes, Gu Jin whispered, "You can explore the formation tonight." In the early morning, the sky of the secret realm that had been dark for many years became deeper, and the upgrade times were restored. Eyes, upgrade. The energy flooded his eyes and transformed his eyes, making Gu Jin gradually feel that his eyes were about to reach their limit. After a moment, the upgrade was completed. Eyes, insight +3, exploration +6. Finally reached the limit. 213. Seeing the properties of the eyes, Gu Jin thought to himself that with the current ability of his eyes, the illusions of the ghosts in the secret realm are useless to him and can be easily seen through. But he still felt a little bit of lack of strength for the ghost fog formation, so in order to be safe, Gu Jin still planned to break the eyes through the second limit before exploring the formation. Eyes, upgrade. Use the second limit upgrade times to upgrade the eyes. Boom. The eyes felt a slight sting under the huge energy, but also felt that the shackles of the eyes were gradually shattered under the impact of energy, allowing the eyes to break the limit and reach a new level. Finally, the energy subsided and the upgrade was completed. Gu Jin immediately looked at the current situation of the eyes. Eyes, insight +3, exploration +6, dialysis. Dialysis, the characteristics of the eyes after breaking the second limit. Gu Jin opened his eyes and looked around. Even in the early morning, he could still see clearly. He moved his eyes to the ghost fog formation. The ghost fog was seen through, and his eyes went deep into the formation. What surprised Gu Jin even more was that he actually saw the formation of the ghost fog formation. The mysterious and complex formation was seen through by his eyes, and then analyzed, turning into runes, clearly displayed in front of him. Gu Jin couldn't help but feel surprised. His eyes could actually see through the formation and analyze the runes that made up the formation. Episode 65. Heaven-defying ability. The ability to see through the eyes after breaking the second limit was beyond Gu Jin's expectation. He had only hoped to use it to resist the confusion and cover of the ghost fog. But the ability to see through the ghost fog not only allowed his vision to penetrate the ghost fog, but also saw through the essence of the ghost fog formation. The mysterious and changing formation runes formed the mysterious formation. Being able to see through the formation runes and the structure of the formation, doesn't it mean that I can master the formation? Gu Jin couldn't help but think of this. Why are formation talismans and talisman engravings so expensive? An ordinary talisman costs 100 spirit stones, and a talisman engraving starts at 1,000 spirit stones. For some special formations, there are few talismans for sale. Even if there are, they are sky-high prices. The reason for this is that in addition to the fact that formation masters attach great importance to talent and the status of accomplished formation masters is extraordinary, formation masters are not short of money. The more powerful the formation master, the richer he is. Therefore, there is no shortage of ordinary low and medium-level array talismans in the array talisman market. But once it comes to high-level array talismans, the price starts to soar, and it is definitely not inferior to a good spiritual weapon. Because the talisman is so practical, even a cultivator in the Yangtze realm can unexpectedly put the Chengdu realm in a life-and-death situation with a mid-level array talisman. Of course, the price of those high-level array talismans is high, and few array masters will make and sell them, often as their own trump cards. The price of high-level array blueprints is even more terrifying. The high-level array blueprints available on the market are either unaffordable for ordinary people, or are relatively useless. Who doesn't treasure the truly practical and powerful high-level array blueprints as a trump card? Even if you are short of money, you can just make a few talismans and sell them. It is extremely rare to sell the blueprints directly. Now, Gu Jin found that his eyes could actually analyze the essence of the array and clearly see all the runes and components of the array. All the details were clearly revealed in his eyes. Such ability is absolutely tailor-made for a formation master. In the future, whenever he sees a formation, he will be able to analyze it, so as to see through the essence of the formation and master the runes and composition of the formation. It can be called a formation master's ability to defy nature. Gu Jin analyzed the formation in front of him. This formation was more shocking than he imagined. His eyes penetrated the ghost fog and saw the formation that covered the sky and the sun, like a big sun rotating and running. Each rune was like gilded forging, magnificent, and formed an extremely complex formation. Even though Gu Jin had a photographic memory and a memory of 10 lines at a glance, it took most of the day to record the huge formation in his mind. Then he repeated to confirm that all the details were correct, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. It was amazing. Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh. Although he had only been exposed to intermediate formations at the highest level, his talent in formations was at the level of a demon. Even the runes of high-level formations can be easily understood by Gu Jin now. But the runes of this formation in front of him actually made him feel awkward. This awkwardness is not because of his lack of talent and understanding, but because of his lack of foundation. His attainments in formations are not enough to support him to comprehend this formation. At least it is a top-level formation. Gu Jin conservatively estimated that this formation was at least top level, and it was so huge that it covered most of the city ruins in ghost fog at a glance. He thought that perhaps only the city defense formation of the demon city could be comparable. After calming down, Gu Jin walked towards the ghost garden that covered the world. With his eyes that could see through, this formation could no longer cover his sight. He could clearly see the scene inside, and he had completely memorized the entire formation. Even if he didn't comprehend it thoroughly, he could still simply judge the operation rules of the formation and find the way through. He was now like a primary school student doing a world-class problem. Although he couldn't even understand the question, he had the reference answer in his hand and just copied it. Walking on a strange and tortuous trajectory, the ghost fog on his path was unusually thin, unlike other places where it was so thick that it swallowed up the light. The deeper he went, the more terrifying the ghost fog was. Gu Jin couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, his ability to see through the formation could see through the formation and he could walk along the life gate of the formation. Otherwise, with his feeling of the ghost around him, I'm afraid that as long as he touches a very tiny trace, he will fall into an endless illusion. As he got closer to the inner area of the formation, Gu Jin's eyes penetrated the ghost fog and saw the scene in the center of the formation. It was a huge altar, magnificent and breathtaking, but it exuded a cold and chilly atmosphere that made people stay away. On the altar, the ghost fog was even thicker and gushing. It can be seen that this is the source of the ghost fog. In the deep and dark ghost fog, there was a faint scarlet luster flowing, flickering, and erratic. If it weren't for his amazing eyesight now, he wouldn't be able to find it, and the ability of his eyes to see through was actually blocked, so he couldn't see through the ghost fog. Following the correct advance, the ghost fog formation had no effect on him, and finally came to the altar. Looking up, the altar was 100 meters high, and a stone staircase seemed to lead directly to the sky. After coming here, Gu Jin's mental power was no longer suppressed, and he could easily release and spread it. Surprisingly, in this area, the mental power was surprisingly active. Gu Jin's perception range of 300 meters, which was the limit, was actually amplified and expanded by several meters again. Is there a treasure here that can amplify spiritual power? Gu Jin looked around. The altar was pitch black, integrated, and flowing with luster, as if it was carved out of the entire stone mountain. It was clear at a glance that there was nothing else to attract attention except the altar itself. Except for that. Gu Jin looked up and looked at the top of the altar, where the red courtyard was looming in the ghost garden where the black dragon was surging. Carefully exploring the surroundings and finding no dangerous aura, Gu Jin finally stepped onto the stone steps. Step by step. Finally, Gu Jin successfully reached the top of the altar. The altar was a combination of a pyramid and a Mayan altar. There was a platform on the top floor. Even though this was the narrowest part of the entire altar, it still had an area of several thousand square meters. You can imagine how huge the entire altar was. Coming to the top floor, with close contact, Gu Jin felt more deeply the horror of the sky-high black dragon ghost fog. With his penetrating eyes, he felt like he was being pulled into a fantasy. At the same time, the red light in the ghost fog became clearer and clearer. Gu Jin tried to approach slowly, keeping a clear mind and extremely calm, resisting the psychedelic breath that shook his mind. The originally isolated penetrating ability began to penetrate with difficulty, layer by layer, and finally vaguely saw the scene in the ghost fog black dragon. It turned out to be a goddess statue. The whole body was like a black jade carving, natural, the face of the statue was blurred, wearing a black long skirt, the style was exotic, but it exuded a seductive breath from the bones. And the faint red light was a ruby inlaid on the necklace she wore for a long time. As if it felt Gu Jin's gaze, the ruby suddenly burst into a brilliant light, piercing through the thick ghost fog. Episode 66. Uninvited Guests. The bright red light dispelled the ghost fog, revealing the statue completely. Although Gu Jin still couldn't see the other person's face clearly, the ghost between them was cleared, and Gu Jin could easily walk to the statue. Looking at the goddess statue that was close to his height, after observing for a moment, Gu Jin slowly raised his hand, grasped the ruby pendant on the statue's neck, and pulled it off. Boom! The ruby left, and the statue turned into an extremely dense ghost fog, but it did not disperse, but was absorbed and swallowed by the ruby. After swallowing the ghost fog that the statue turned into, the suction of the ruby became stronger and stronger, causing the surrounding ghost fog to be attracted and gathered like a sea embracing hundreds of rivers. When the ruby swallowed the ghost fog, Gu Jin felt a piece of information coming into his mind. When he understood the huge information, he suddenly felt a strong joy. It was a secret art inheritance. Ghost fog. This is the name of the secret art, which is a secret art used by mental power. It can turn mental power into ghost fog, cover itself, hide its own breath, and make people unable to see through it. Looking directly at the ghost fog will cause hallucinations, and those with weaker strength will fall into an endless illusion. If you are directly submerged by the ghost fog will continue to erode your spiritual mind, disintegrate your soul, and pull you into an endless abyss. The greater the mental power, the wider the range of the ghost fog. For example, the statue is just a wisp of 870 consciousness left by the original body, but the ghost fog transformed by this consciousness has covered most of the huge ruins for many years. As for the ruby, it is a spiritual tool that can amplify mental power, and at the same time, it also contains the ghost fog formation that covers most of the ruins. As long as Gu Jin is willing, he can set up the formation again anywhere. This is simply a huge surprise. In fact, whether it is the formation or the secret technique in the ruby spiritual tool, they are all things passed down from generation to generation, and their essence is ghost fog. But the former is a huge formation. If Gu Jin releases it, it can cover most of the magic city. It is an extremely powerful formation. Now Gu Jin can't see the level of this formation at all. He can only infer that it is at least top level. The Ghost Mist secret art is about the application of mental power. Secret arts related to mental power are rare. A powerful one like the Ghost Mist will attract people to fight for it. The secret art is engraved in Gu Jin's mind, and all the mysterious perceptions are clearly revealed. With Gu Jin's comprehension, he quickly understood it. With his current mental power, he can only cover an area of 3 meters in radius. But this is already powerful enough. Just imagine, this is equivalent to having a field that confuses the enemy and hides the breath. The opponent has not yet fought with Gu Jin, and he will be weakened by the ghost fog. Based on Gu Jin's previous research on the ghost fog formation, his eyes with dialysis characteristics can only avoid it and dare not touch it. If someone of the same realm tries it, I am afraid that just taking a look outside the ghost fog formation will completely fall into the illusion. Such an ability is simply terrifying. If Gu Jin becomes stronger in the future, let alone other things, his mental power is as strong as the consciousness left by the statue, and he can easily turn his mental power into ghost fog to cover most of the city. That is almost invincible. And this is only the first level of ghost fog. Gu Jin is not strong enough to comprehend the deeper level. After comprehending the mystery of ghost fog, Gu Jin looked around. The ruby was still swallowing the ghost fog. The huge ghost was like a raging river. It covered the sky and the sun, and it seemed that it would not be absorbed so quickly. So he started to practice the ghost fog secret technique. With the perception imprinted in his mind, Gu Jin got started very easily. His mental power was running and condensing, and gradually gathered in his mind. Gradually, the invisible and colorless mental power gathered to the extreme, and a black hole appeared in his consciousness. The mental power was absorbed and transformed, and it turned into a ghost garden like thick ink. Just getting started, Gu Jin had not yet completely transformed his mental power, and could only cover half a meter around him. Slowly, as more mental power was transformed, the transformation speed became faster. Gu Jin's figure was gradually shrouded by the ghost fog and disappeared. Ruins, dozens of kilometers away from the ghost fog that covered the sky, the three people came in a hurry, and after seeing the ghost fog and the ruined city in the distance, they couldn't help but show a similar look of surprise. Finally found it, this is the city ruins that Big Brother said, the thick black fog should be the location of the formation. The leader is a handsome young man with a noble temperament, obviously born extraordinary. It's really surprising, I didn't expect that there would be ruins of human cities in this ghost domain secret realm. A young man with a shrewd luster in his eyes behind him said. Don't talk nonsense, go and take a look. A low voice sounded, and a tall and rough man looked at the ruins, with a wolfish and brutal look in his eyes. Let's go. The leading young man was extremely fast and appeared several kilometers away in an instant. The three entered the ruins, and the ghosts that appeared along the way did not hinder them at all. The closer they got to the ghost fog, the more they were deeply shocked. The terrifying psychedelic aura was about to devour their minds from a distance. The three did not dare to stare at it at all. With their speed, they soon reached the edge of the ghost fog. Seeing the ghost fog that covered the sky and the sun and could not see the end at a glance, they could not help but lose their minds for a moment. Don't waste time, let's get started. The smart young man spoke. The other two came back to their senses, Mumbai. Huh? Suddenly, the smart young man saw something surprising and couldn't help but exclaimed. The figure appeared in the distance in an instant and picked a transparent plant. Mustard god root? The rough man saw this and his eyes widened slightly, revealing his undisguised desire. The leading man was also attracted and looked around. He was shocked and then overjoyed, how can there be so many mustard roots here? There were several mustard roots growing around, and they could be seen vaguely in the distance. The rough man immediately started picking them. The leading young man was not far behind. After a while, all the mustard roots were picked, more than 20 of them. The upper limit of the mustard roots is 10, and these are enough for us. The leading young man said in surprise. You know, since entering the secret realm, they have been searching hard and found a few roots, which the three of them shared equally, but they didn't expect to find more than 20 roots in one place here. The three of them divided the mustard roots and didn't fight for them. The leading young man had taken one more root before, so he got one less root. In the end, it was just enough for them to reach the limit of 10 roots after taking them. This time the secret realm made a lot of money. The smart young man couldn't help laughing. Although the upper limit of taking the mustard god root is 10 plants, there are only a few people who can find 10 plants to take in each secret realm. After all, luck is more important when looking for things. Look at this ghost fog. The rough man suddenly spoke, and the three of them looked at the ghost fog together. They saw the ghost fog covering the sky and the sun rolling, and the psychedelic breath boiling, which made them feel shaken. They immediately stepped back and were able to resist it slightly. Episode 67. Powerful enemies chasing. The three of them looked at the scene in front of them in horror, and they were even more afraid of this formation. Just the escaping aura almost made the three top geniuses in the Chengdu realm fall and be forced to retreat. If they were to come into contact with it, they would not even know how to sink. Can the breaking array arrow break such a formation? The smart young man asked slightly absent-mindedly. The leading young man looked solemn when he heard this, and then said with relief, this time, the eldest brother asked me to bring the breaking array arrow, just to let me try it. When he entered the secret realm and found the ruins and the mysterious black fog formation, he didn't have time to investigate before it was time to leave. He didn't expect this black fog to be so terrifying, right? The smart young man nodded. The breaking array arrow can break the top formation. If even such a weapon that restrains the formation is useless, he has to give up. The handsome young man in the lead smiled, even if we can't break the formation, the mustard god root alone is enough to gain. Do you think the formation is a bit strange, Dash? The rough man spoke. The fog seems to be shrinking. The smart young man frowned, then his eyes lit up and looked at the handsome young man. Good opportunity. The handsome young man obviously thought of it and took out a piece of golden light from the space ring. Inside the golden light was an elongated arrow, without an arrow shaft, only the arrow flowing with golden light. As long as a palm, it exudes an aura that penetrates everything. This is the top spiritual weapon, medicine. Before he entered the secret realm, his elder brother helped him borrow it to let him explore the formation he discovered at the beginning. Before handing him the formation-breaking arrow, his elder brother was very confident that this arrow could definitely break the formation of the ancient secret realm. Because he borrowed it from an old strong man with his identity as a talented practitioner of the amazing level. His elder brother is Pang Hai, one of the 2 stars of the Academy's life wheel level. The other twin star was Shinhe's elder brother, Shinshin, who was killed by Gu Jin. The 2 were very popular at the level of the fate wheel, with amazing talents that suppressed their peers. Break. Pang Hui spread his palms, and all the majestic spiritual energy in his body was poured into the arrow. Buzz. The breaking array arrow hummed violently, and the light became more brilliant. Then, with a whoosh, it pierced through the void and pierced into the ghost garden Chen, leaving a golden mark in the air. Huh? The moment the breaking array arrow touched the ghost, Pang Hui immediately widened his eyes, showing a look of shock, and then his eyes became flustered. He found that he had lost control of the arrow the moment the arrow touched the ghost fog. Watching the arrow pierce out with golden light and green, it disappeared after not entering the enclosure. What happened? Qian Zhang, who was always shrewd, was stunned and asked cautiously. Huang Han also had muscles all over his body tense, ready to deal with emergencies at any time. Arrows, out of control. Pang Hui said in shock. He was not shocked by the power of the formation, but thought of the consequences of losing the formation-breaking doctor. That was a top-level spiritual weapon that could restrain the formation. Not to mention its rarity, the value of a top-level spiritual weapon alone was amazing enough. What? Qian Zhang and Huang Han exclaimed. Pang Hui's eyes were stern, and he was about to take action, but was stopped by Qian Zhang. Wait and see, the formation changes, there may be a turning point, you rush in like this, it's no doubt to die. Pang Hui calmed down, and the 3 of them watched the magnificent ghost fog shrinking and talking quietly. In the ghost fog, after Gu Jin transformed his mental power, he could release his mental power in an instant, turning it into ghost fog covering an area of 3 meters, and hiding himself in it. Only the ruby in his hand that absorbed the ghost fog was faintly shining. After mastering the secret technique of ghost fog, Gu Jin found that he had a mysterious connection with the ruby. Under his control, the speed of swallowing ghost fog suddenly increased greatly, and he could clearly see that the ghost fog was becoming thinner and thinner. Finally, when the ghost fog only covered the area of the altar, Gu Jin found that the altar was like the goddess statue and turned into an extremely dense ghost and was swallowed by the ruby. The altar gradually lowered and became smaller. Finally, the ghost fog that covered the sky and the sun became only 3 meters in size. Collect. As the ghost fog was absorbed, Pang Hui saw that his uncontrolled array-breaking arrow was lying quietly on the ground, and he immediately recovered it. Only then did he feel relieved and looked at the field curiously. I saw a black hole appear in the center of the ghost fog, swallowing all the ghost fog. Gu Jin restrained the released ghost fog, and finally only the part covering his face was left. He wore the ruby in his hand around his neck. He discovered the existence of Pang Hui and others, so he didn't want to reveal his face. Without the slightest thought of communicating, Gu Jin turned around and left. Wait. Qian Zhang suddenly called Gu Jin, with a shrewd look in his eyes, and said politely, "Excuse me, which classmate are you?" "I am Qian Zhang, may I know your classmate's name?" Polite, friendly, without any deliberate trace. Gu Jin did not stop, and even accelerated his departure. Something strange. Qian Zhang saw this and his expression sank. I smelled the scent of treasure. Huang Han's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Pang Hui was a smart man, of course he knew what his companions meant. The changes in the formation were abnormal, and the appearance of a mysterious person after the formation disappeared was even more abnormal. The mysterious person left when he saw them, and it was obvious that there was something to hide. He also felt the huge benefits. The mysterious person did not know what means he used to be unaffected by the formation, and it seemed that he took something away from the formation. All the students who entered the secret realm were in the Chengdu realm. As for the 30 people in the Yangqi realm, they were ignored by everyone. Pang Hui was confident that with the strength of the 3 people, even his eldest brother's amazing talent could not match him when he was in the Chengdu realm. The benefits were enough to make people want to kill. The three immediately chased after Gu Jin. Seeing the three people following closely behind him, Gu Jin couldn't help but frown, bursting out his speed with all his strength, and finally used the spiritual energy and thunder stimulated him, but he was still inferior to the three people. This allowed Gu Jin to analyze the strength of the three people. After breaking the limit for the second time, Gu Jin had the ability to fly, and his pure physical speed reached 6 times the speed of sound. After this period of training, in addition to the spiritual energy, his physical fitness has also improved a lot. His strength has reached 70,000 kilograms, and his speed has also increased, reaching 7 times the speed of sound. In addition to the powerful spiritual energy and thunder stimulation contained in his body, it is enough to burst out 1,000 times the speed of sound. But he is still inferior to the three people chasing behind. Those three people are definitely strong in the Chengdu realm. Now that he is targeting him, not to mention his inferior speed, he will soon be caught up, and his burst cannot last long, his thunder is limited, and his spiritual energy is not as strong as that of the Chengdu realm. It's time to fight. Gu Jin's eyes turned cold, and the rare aggressive momentum of giving in has already. Episode 68. Really not entry level. Gu Jin's mind was immersed in a clear and bright state of mind, extremely calm and clear. You can't escape. You can escape for a while, but not forever. If you are caught up, your state will be greatly depleted, which will make things worse. So, it's better to counterattack. Of course, you can't just turn around and rush to counterattack. That's a mindless gift, not a counterattack. Gu Jin's figure crossed the void, pulling out a terrifying sonic boom cloud, whistling, stretching his slender hands, and suddenly holding a crystal talisman at his fingertips. The corners of his mouth appeared with an arc, and the corners of his lips were sharp. Although he was alone, he had a lot of talismans to bombard. The strategy was determined in his mind in an instant. Boom. Gu Jin went from extremely active to extremely quiet, turned around, and the sound of the air being compressed and bursting was piercing. In the three people's unconnected gazes, his hands were flying. Swish, swish, swish. 310 talismans broke through the air one by one. The three people who saw the attack were shocked and cursed inwardly. Who on earth is this person? He threw nearly 10 talismans at once. Is it necessary to be so heroic? Gu Jin's talismans were not thrown randomly, but for a purpose, in order to divide the battlefield. 3 transparent maze talismans attacked Peng Hui and Huang Han. The talismans hummed and bloomed a series of magnificent arrays, covering the two. Following the maze talismans, there were 4 talismans that cooperated with the blazing red lotus and the tearing wind. Boom boom boom. Woo woo. The red lotus bloomed, the wind shattered, the terrifying heat wave rolled, and the wind blade mixed with fireworks drowned the two. On the other side, Qian Zheng had no time to worry about his accomplices. He was also trapped in the maze array. At the same time, he felt a strong sense of crisis and instinctively dodged. Swish. A dagger passed across his face, leaving a trace of blood, and then sank into the ground. Qian Zheng could not help but become more alert, and his mental power swept through the formation, trying to break it as soon as possible. At this time, the air was pierced, and a sharp spear appeared behind him silently, held by his slender white left hand, and Gu Jin's figure also appeared behind him. Thorn Spear. This is a high-level spiritual weapon that Gu Jin took from the unknown assassin. With the blessing of spiritual energy, it is sharp. If he had not been surrounded by the formation and was blown up before he could react, he would not have died so easily in Gu Jin's hands. Although there were many illusions in front of him, after the cultivator had mental power, his instincts and perception of danger were extremely sharp. The sense of danger of the thorn spear made his scalp numb. He turned sideways in a twisted posture, and at the same time, his mental power was overloaded. Swish. The spear passed through his waist, tearing a horrible blood mark, but Qian Zheng also avoided this fatal blow. Boom. Under the overload, his mental power shattered the maze formation, but he was not feeling well either, with blood gushing out of his mouth and nose. Puff. But at this moment, a long green sword broke through the air, and when Qian Zheng's posture was twisted and he couldn't dodge, and his mental power was overloaded and his brain was dizzy, it sank into his heart. Qian Zheng's eyes widened in disbelief. He could not imagine until his death that the opponent's killer move was not the high-level spiritual weapon spear that was sharp and had terrible damage. But it was an inconspicuous ancient weapon long sword. No wonder the opponent held the spear with his left hand, and he thought the opponent was left-handed. He killed Qian Zheng with lightning speed, but before Gu Jin could draw out his sword, he heard a sound of breaking air from behind him. Gu Jin frowned and had no time to hide. He could not imagine that the opponent could break through the maze formation so quickly and attack him after enduring 2 powerful formation attacks. Not far away, the earth turned into scorched earth. Peng Hui, who looked like a handsome nobleman, was in a very embarrassed state, with tattered clothes and burn marks on his body. He raised his hand, and the formation-breaking arrow was approaching Gu Jin's heart. In his opinion, he could kill the opponent in the next moment. The blazing and bright flower bloomed in the dark world, like a mist of fairy air, lingering around Gu Jin. What shocked Peng Hui was that after his array-breaking arrow pierced the mist like Yinghua, it seemed to lose power and penetrated the opponent's skin slightly, but was bounced out by the fair and transparent skin. How is it possible? Peng Hui couldn't believe it. Although the array-breaking arrow was specifically used to deal with arrays, it was also a top-level spiritual weapon with absolutely powerful power, but it didn't even break the opponent's skin. Peng Hui wanted to continue to output with his eyes wide open, but Gu Jin had already reacted and did not flee forward, backward, left, right, but took off into the air. Huh. The harsh wind whistled, and Gu Jin's tense heartstrings loosened slightly. Fortunately, Yinghua's defense ability was extremely strong, and the opponent obviously could not fully control the power of the spiritual weapon, so he blocked the fatal roar. A wild beast-like roar sounded, and Huang Han's whole body swelled up. His height exceeded 2 meters, and his muscles were like bronze castings, flowing with metallic luster. But many places left burnt scars. Where are the people? Huang Han shouted angrily after breaking free from the environment. Peng Hui looked at Qian Zheng's body with a cold expression, alert to the sky, but couldn't help wondering. Ordinary Chengdu realm practitioners can fly in the air, plus the body skills and spiritual energy. Without any leverage, it is easy to fly 100 meters in the air, but after waiting for a while, why hasn't the other party fallen? Huang Han also locked the sky tightly, and the violent breath swept over and frightened people. Suddenly, the two of them opened their eyes wide, and then ran away with curses. I saw a burst of crystal raindrops falling from the sky at some point. It was a piece of array runes. After just feeling the powerful power of Gu Jin's array, the two still had lingering fears. But the coverage of the runes was too wide, and before they could escape, they were submerged by the storm flames. Gu Jin was suspended in the air, looking at the sea of fire covering thousands of meters below. The scene was really shocking. But he didn't just admire it, but fell from the air. This time his target was Peng Hui. The opponent's arrow was very strange. It could easily destroy his formation. I didn't see it before, and I was wondering how the opponent 1.3 could get away and attack him so quickly. But now he can see clearly. He saw the talisman activated, the magnificent formation enveloped the opponent, and the red lotus flames bloomed, but before the power was fully and lastingly exploded. A touch of golden light swept through the sky, and it could actually destroy the unfolded formation. The runes that made up the formation were shattered, and the formation was destroyed. Gu Jin fell from the sky, holding the thorn spear in his left hand, and he hit Peng Hui unstoppably. The momentum was shocking. Although Gu Jin had not learned spearmanship, he had a comprehensive talent for spearmanship, and his talent for spearmanship was also at the level of a demon, plus the dexterity and control characteristics of his hands after upgrading. No matter what he played, he was so easy. Although there was a subtle gap like the sword. Really falling from the sky, not a spearmanship. Gu Jin shouted in his heart. Episode 69. The Road to Wealth. The breaking array arrow is indeed powerful in restraining formations. It can break through top-level formations, and it is even easier to deal with intermediate formations. However, Gu Jin threw down a handful of talismans at once. Peng Hui had just broken through 2 maze formations when Gu Jin's spear approached. Feeling the murderous intent that made his spine cold, Peng Hui could not help but curse. How many formation talismans does this guy have? He has broken through 2 maze formations alone, and he has not yet escaped from the confusing illusion. Relying on instinct to avoid Gu Jin's spear, at the same time, he found Gu Jin's direction and attacked with the breaking array arrow. Gu Jin dodged sideways, and with a terrifying speed, he appeared in front of Peng Hui, with nothing in his right hand and holding the spear in his left hand and stabbing with all his strength. Feeling the way Gu Jin attacked, Peng Hui curled his lips in disdain. Although he didn't have time to save Qian Zheng just now, he saw with his own eyes how he died at Gu Jin's hands. Now the other party wants to use the same routine? Too stupid. Although he saw through it, Peng Hui showed a look of horror. Just like Qian Zheng just now, he dodged Gu Jin's spear with a twisted 10-limit posture, exposing himself to the opponent's empty right hand. A green long sword appeared in Gu Jin's hand, tearing the air and going straight to Peng Hui's heart. Peng Hui's originally horrified expression suddenly calmed down, and even showed a smile. At this time, the formation-breaking arrow that Gu Jin avoided had already broken the last maze formation. He saw that the opponent's bronze ancient sword was close to his heart. But he was not worried at all. Ding! The sound of metal collision sounded, and the tattered clothes at Peng Hui's heart were completely shattered by the ancient sword, revealing a silver heart-protecting mirror. The heart-protecting mirror glowed, spreading many lines, and Peng Hui's whole body was covered. This is his life-protecting spiritual weapon, and it is not something that the ancient weapon can pierce. Chi. At this time, the formation-breaking arrow had come behind Gu Jin. Peng Hui's eyes were fierce, he grabbed Gu Jin's spear, and his whole body's spiritual energy was output, and the speed of the breaking array arrow was faster. Chi. The breaking array arrow pierced Yinghua, broke through the skin, and was blocked by the knotted muscles, but it still penetrated inch by inch. Peng Hui smiled triumphantly, and at the same time, Gu Jin also smiled. His smile was so similar to Peng Hui's that the other party was shocked. A sharp thunder roared. Boom! The golden flame burned everything. The lightning and golden flames instantly submerged Peng Hui, and the defensive spiritual weapon on his body was torn like thin paper, broken by the thunder and flames, and immediately fell into the terrifying high temperature and destructive thunder. Clang! A bronze mirror fell to the ground. Peng Hui, who was holding Gu Jin's spear tightly, was already like a dry charcoal, and his whole body was charred. Ka! Gu Jin broke away the other party's hand holding the spear, and saw Peng Hui's body turned into ashes and dissipated. Puff! He took the formation-breaking arrow off his back with his backhand, and saw that not a drop of blood flowed out of the wound. The wound closed quickly, and recovered quickly under the hazy light. Roar! Roar! Boom! At this time, Gu Jin looked to the other side and saw Huang Han trapped in the sea of fire, carrying the flaming wind blade and relying on brute force to break the maze formation. Chi! Gu Jin threw out the thorn-piercing spear like a javelin, and the tip of the spear revealed golden flames and thunder. This was his all-out explosion. Puff! The powerful attack power of the high-level spiritual weapon itself, coupled with the blessing of thunder and fire and his spiritual energy, instantly pierced his body, took him away, and finally nailed him to the ground. Roar! But Huang Han still roared madly, which made Gu Jin frown, and then threw out the formation-breaking arrow. Puff! Puff! Golden light shuttled around Huang Han, tearing his body apart. After a moment, Huang Han, who was howling to the sky, died just like that. Until his death, he was still in the maze formation and had not escaped. Because Gu Jin threw him 5. Anyway, he has a lot of talismans on his body now. After the brain broke the limit, Gu Jin could make 10 talismans in 10 talismans at a time. The process took half an hour, and then an hour to recover. After taking the mustard root, his mental power increased 3 times, and he could engrave 30 talismans in 30 talismans at a time, and he still had enough energy to recover his mental power in half an hour. But it takes time to make talismans and talismans. He can make 10 talismans in 10 talismans in half an hour, and 30 talismans in 30 talismans in an hour and a half. Then it takes half an hour to recover. Recently, while waiting for the eye upgrade, he took out 4 hours a day to make it, and the rest of the time to practice and kill ghosts, but even so, he made more than 500 talismans in less than 10 days. This is such a terrifying number, so the consumption just now is just a small problem for him, just an hour's work. After dealing with the 3 people, it's time to open the box. The most valuable thing among the 3 is undoubtedly the breaking array arrow, a top-level spiritual weapon that can break the array, and its value is much higher than the Qiankuan compass. There is also Peng Hui's heart-protecting mirror, which is an intermediate-level defensive spiritual weapon. After being activated, it will form a protective film covering the whole body. In addition, his space ring also has an intermediate-level spiritual weapon long sword. The rest are a lot of spiritual stones, elixirs for auxiliary cultivation, etc., and a few world god roots. As for the other 2, they are much poorer than Peng Hui. Both of them don't use weapons. Huang Han relies on a strong 250 body, and Qian Zheng is good at palm and finger techniques. So, in addition to spiritual stones, there is also a book of body refining exercises and finger and palm techniques. Body refining exercises require the ancient realm to practice, but finger and palm techniques do not have realm requirements. Ba Ti. various brutal methods to temper the body, the process is extremely difficult and difficult to practice. Huang Han is in the realm of nourishing qi, and his aura is permeated with the tough characteristics of the body, so he succeeded in practicing. Suyin Palm. It is sinister and weird, and pays attention to the various clever uses of strength and aura. Xianyin Finger. It is inherited from the palm method, and it is also a finger method that focuses on skills. Put away the three techniques. Ba Ti is useless to him now, but after entering the Changgu realm, with his physical fitness and spiritual characteristics, he can practice it. Suyin Palm and Xianyin Finger are very suitable for him to practice now. On the one hand, he also has the talent of the Devil's Finger and Palm techniques. In addition, he upgraded his hands to break the first limit, which is extremely dexterous. It is very suitable for practicing these two techniques. After packing up the spoils, Gu Jin was a little distressed when he saw the mustard god root in the ring. He couldn't take it out. Throwing it away would be a waste, and eating it would be useless. It was really difficult to deal with. Gu Jin took out the mustard god root from the 3 space values. He was originally thinking about how to deal with it, but after holding the mustard god root, he had a strange feeling. Episode 70. Characteristics of space. The mustard god root was useless to Gu Jin, who had taken 10 of them, but when he held it this time, he found that his mental power became active and he felt like he was ready to move. This was not the case before. Could it be the ghost fog? Gu Jin thought that this was a change that only occurred after practicing the ghost fog secret technique. Following the feeling of mental power spread out and turned into a thick ink-like ghost fog, covering the mustard god root in his hand, and then, Gu Jin was surprised to find that the mustard god root gradually melted under the ghost fog, turning into a thick ink-like breath, which was absorbed by the ghost fog, and the surrounding season also increased. After swallowing the mustard god root, the ghost fog gathered and turned into pure mental power to lie dormant. The mental power has become stronger. Gu Jin found it clearly. Spread the mental power and cover the surroundings. The original limit was a perception range of 300 meters, but now it has expanded to 320 meters. After discovering this characteristic of the ghost fog with surprise, Gu Jin took out all the mustard god roots, and there were still 24 plants left, all of which were swallowed by Zhou Sun. Boom! When all the mustard god roots were devoured, Gu Jin's mental power increased greatly. The perception range expanded to 800 meters. The ghost fog also covered an area of 8 meters. It can be said that now Gu Jin doesn't need so many talismans to face the 3 people just now. He can directly spread the ghost fog and cover an area of 8 meters. They are really men who can last for 30 seconds after entering the ghost fog. After knowing the use of the mustard god grass, Gu Jin couldn't wait to start looking for it. He even had a sudden idea to give all kinds of things to the ghost fog to smell to see if it was interested. He almost kept it as a pet. Originally, Gu Jin thought that the ghost fog should be interested in the spirit crystal, which was left by the ghost after death, but there was no reaction. The ghost fog formation disappeared, and the entire ruined city was revealed. In the following time, Gu Jin practiced every day, made talismans, searched for the mustard god root, killed ghosts, and upgraded. After searching for the mustard god root seriously without success, he didn't look for it deliberately. He killed ghosts while walking around. It was fate to meet. As for his goal of upgrading these days, it is his feat. In the fight with Peng Hui and the other two, he felt that his current speed was invincible in the Yangqi realm, and even the practitioners in the Chengchengu realm could not match him. But when he met the genius in the Chenggu realm, he seemed to be stretched to the limit. So, these days, he upgraded his feat. Feat, extreme speed +3, flying +2, with 9 times the speed of sound. Flying +3, with 11 times the speed of sound. Flying +4, with 10 times the speed of sound. Flying +5, with 15 times the speed of sound. Tonight, after his upgrade, his feet have reached the extreme. Feat, extreme speed +3, flying +6. Now his speed has reached a terrifying 17 times the speed of sound. Now facing Peng Hui and the other 3, he will definitely make them eat dust behind. But now what Gu Jin is most looking forward to is the change after his feet break the second limit. Feat, upgrade. His second limit upgrade times have always been surplus, but because they can be accumulated, Gu Jin does not have to worry about waste. Consume a little to upgrade your feet. Boom. The mighty energy raged, shattering the shackles that imprisoned his legs. If the first limit was broken by the shackles that imprisoned flying, then this time, after the shackles were broken, Gu Ling had a magical feeling about the inner void. Unlike the mental power to perceive the surroundings, it is not so clear, but the grasp of the spatial position is more accurate. When the energy subsided and the upgrade was completed, Gu Jin did not rush to study this wonderful feeling, but looked at the current state of his feet. Feet, extreme speed +3, flying +6, teleportation +1. It's actually teleportation. Gu Jin was surprised. Teleportation, involving the characteristics of space, is such a mysterious power that ordinary people can't reach. And now, he actually has it. He also understands what that magical perception is, that is the keen control of the spatial latitude. Gu Jin can't wait to move his mind. Swish. Silently, he disappeared out of thin air and appeared 10 meters away. Yes, he really disappeared out of thin air, without any waves, and it was not an illusion caused by the previous speed being too fast. After dodging around, Gu Jin gradually mastered the ability of teleportation. The maximum teleportation range is 1,000 meters, which can be controlled freely. Gradually, after calming down from the excitement of obtaining the ability of space, Gu Jin began to put aside the halo of the word space and face the teleportation ability. From the perspective of hurrying, teleportation is slightly less urgent than his pure speed. One teleportation is 1,000 meters away, while Gu Jin's pure body speed is 17 times the speed of sound. One step is 6,000 meters away. The gap is obvious. But the amazing thing about teleportation is its evasiveness and unpredictability. No matter how fast a person is, if he is still moving forward in this world's latitude, he will be in a state of being attacked. For example, if Gu Jin moves forward in a straight line, 17 times the speed of sound is terrifying enough, but he can still be attacked. It just depends on whether the person attacking him is strong enough. But teleportation is different. This is a way of moving beyond the latitude and space. His movement traces cannot be sensed, which means that the enemy has lost the ability to attack him, and teleportation ignores obstacles and appears silently in any place within the teleportation range. For attacking and dodging, teleportation can be called heaven-defying. For attacking, no matter how sharp the opponent's perception is, he will lose perception at the moment of Gu Jin's teleportation, because he is not in this space at all. The same is true for dodging. After teleportation, the enemy cannot sense it and naturally cannot select a target to attack. Looking at Gu Jin's smiling face now, we know that he is very satisfied with the characteristics of his feet after breaking the second limit, which also means that his decision this time is not wrong. Next, Gu Jin will start to upgrade new parts. The next upgrade will be his preparation for the impact on the Chengdu realm. He wants to let the aura be saturated with more of the most fundamental characteristics of the body, so that the aura becomes extremely powerful. After breaking through to the Chengdu realm, his adaptability to various exercises will reach an astonishing level. Next, Gu Jin arranged the next upgrade and cultivation path in the secret realm. Late at night on the first day, the upgrade times were restored, and the first thing he chose to upgrade was blood. Blood, surging +1. After the blood was upgraded, the first attribute it gained was surging, which made his blood flow like a rushing river in his blood vessels, transporting energy to all parts of his body more quickly. It also enhanced the body's recovery and tempering speed. Late at night on the fourth day, Gu Jin upgraded his blood, allowing his blood to break the first limit. Blood, surging +3, red blood +1.